HomeBased workers were the first to find out that a storm was about to come. Many HomeBased workers, especially the piece rate workers who depend on global supply chain for their work, saw a dip in their work from January onwards, and by March, this work absolutely stopped. Many countries in South Asia saw a lockdown at some point of time, and HomeBased workers were the worst affected in the lockdown. Their savings have been wiped out, and many of them are in debt at the moment. After the lockdown also, and even today, very few home-based workers have access to any form of work. When country recovery plans are made, where are the home-based workers? And when company bailouts are provided, what is provided to home-based workers? Today, anything that we wear, eat, or use is made by home-based workers. They work across the sectors without a tag of made by home-based workers. There are approximately 260 million home-based workers across the world who are mainly women, and this number is only increasing, and there is absolutely no recognition provided to this category of workers. When the governments have failed to create employment opportunities, home-based workers, despite the decent work conditions, have created employment for themselves. And employers, both global as well as domestic and across the supply chain, have found it convenient to keep home-based workers hidden in their supply chain to increase their own profits. HomeLed South Asia is a network of home-based worker organizations. We have 60 affiliates, and we collectively represent 900,000 home-based workers, of which 95% are women. During the lockdown, we saw that relief was only possible for home-based workers if they were organized. Trade unions of home-based workers like SEWA, LEARN, Home-Based Workers Women's Federation ensured that home-based workers had access to food supplies. And many civil society organizations working with home-based workers like WHR in Nepal and SAVE in India mobilized resources to provide access to food. And producer companies and cooperatives like the Sabas in Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and Ruab and Sathna in India redesigned their supply chains, reskilled their members, and ensured better access to work. Home-based workers who are not organized have found it absolutely impossible to access any form of relief. Now, what would recovery look like for home-based workers? Would recovery look like what existed before the pandemic? The pandemic has only amplified the issues that home-based workers have faced over the years. Our demands have also been the same. First, recognition as workers, universalization of social protection, ratification of ILO Convention 177, as well as inclusion in country policies, access to regular work and piece rates to match living wages, and especially during and post the pandemic, access to food and nutrition. The pandemic also brought about the cracks in the design and access to relief provided by the government. We have a slogan, nothing for us without us. And when recovery plans are made, we demand inclusion of home-based workers in the designing and implementation stage. We demand sustainable, inclusive, and just recovery. Recovery begins at home and with home-based workers.